Well, Chibuzo, no detail emerging from that part of the conversation on AMCON and possible M&A activity that could come to the fore, but certainly a positive message that's being put out there on an international platform. On the basis of that, what kind of foreign investor activity are you seeing on the Nigerian market scene right now?
Well, I think the CBN governor really captured all the important issues in a nutshell, and I'm pleased that he was able to put that view across. Now, I have a bit of a misgiving in the way foreign investors have played the Nigerian markets, and they've tried to come in through the secondary markets. They are very shallow. They don't provide a lot of opportunities. They are not well linked to the real economy, and it's really like trying to fish or use a trawler in an iced over pond. Now, the better way to do that is to actually address or address your investments into the real economy directly. And perhaps local issuers and regulators could be a bit more creative in creating those opportunities to allow investors who are so interested to come in and benefit directly. I think the way it's been done so far has been quite inefficient, and we're hoping that that view is assimilated and reflected in the way foreign investors interact with the domestic going forward.
Of course, speaking to traders on a daily basis, I mean, where inefficiency stands out from their perspective, it seems, comes to the implementation of AMCON itself. So let's use that as a case in point here, because there's a lot of detail that's still lacking on that front. You know, what assets it's looking to buy, the timeline, at least, you know, to the major deals, who's going to survive, how far the bank is prepared to go to actually put that lifeline out there. What are you expecting out of next week's MPC meeting specifically? Because many not expecting anything extraordinary, but hoping that they would get some detail on AMCON at least.
Well, the AMCON issue is a bit of a thorny one, and one can sympathize with the central bank governor in terms of what the expectations were at the beginning and what he has to do right now. I think at the time it was created, the focus was on stemming the panic and avoiding a meltdown in the banking sector. I think over time, with that objective having been achieved to a large extent, the focus has shifted a little bit, and perhaps he's a bit more concerned about the government's investment in propping up some of these banks and how much of that he can recover in the process of resolving all the issues that exist in the banking sector. I think some of the utterances we've had in recent days from that area have been sort of focused on refining expectations in terms of what investors or how far investors think government will go in protecting those banks. And I think over the next couple of weeks, I mean, the body is in place now. They were installed a couple of weeks ago. Over the next couple of weeks, I think they've had the time to look at the books, interact with the banks, and actually find out the true situation of things. And I think by the next MPC meeting, we'll have more detail, and that should be soothing for the markets.
Of course, it will be a matter of time before the effects of those kind of transitions are actually felt. We have, of course, M&A in the meantime front of mind. What are you making of the kind of progress we're seeing on that front?
Well, it's an interesting situation. On the one hand, you have the CBN, which is concerned about maintaining systemic integrity in the banking sector. They can't allow some of the bigger banks to fail. That much is clear. And now some of the smaller banks, it's not so clear what the CBN intends to do. But yet the biggest holes are with the biggest banks. And I think the CBN will be far more concerned in seeing that those banks are properly handled in the course of the process. Now, how much of their capital are they willing to risk in the process of achieving that? That is really anybody's guess. But I think and I hope that they would make the best of the situation, interact with bankers to see what the real issues are and address it comprehensively.
Well, taking a look at interest that has been seen, we know that there's a mix with local banks showing some interest in possibly acquiring some of the targets. We've got interest being shown from international investors as well. Are you looking for a balanced mix to come to the fore here, or does it not really matter who the buyers stand as right now?
Well, I'm not particularly concerned about who buys what. I'm more concerned about that the whole process emerges in a way that gives confidence for all around. You don't want a situation where there are contentious issues. So say a local bank buys another failing one, and the accusations of vested interests and favoritism and things like that. On the other hand, you don't want to have a foreign bank buy one of the failed banks or one of the propped up banks, and then have local investors complaining that they were sold too cheap, or the shareholders saying that they were shortchanged. I think really transparency and a robust process going all through the spectrum, and just to convince investors that everything was done in the best possible manner. I think that's really the important point. That's what we're hoping to see
Chibuzo,
in the process.